Hello, friends. Welcome into the TexAgs Rewind, presented by Specs in the Rollo Insurance Studio. We've got the fan show, guys.
Fan show.
Fan show. Katie and Ambry, what up?
Hey.
What's up?
That wasn't a very good hello. All right, so look, we're going to tell you what's on the show. We're going to do the fun stuff we always do. But you are against bro country. And I just found out that you haven't evolved with country music the way.
No, I'm not.
No, you don't like Morgan Wallen.
He doesn't sing country. He sings pop music. If you're into pop music, Morgan Wallen's your guy. But the guy didn't sing anything country. I've listened to all of his stuff. Every time he comes on the radio.
He had 36 songs in his new album. Nobody's finished it yet.
Every song I've heard of his, I'm going, this is terrible. And
He did mention the Aggies in one of his songs.
Yeah.
So.
No. Well, I didn't know that. But either way, it still doesn't matter. If you like pop, he's probably your guy. If you like country, he's not.
Mr. Ross, tell him.
Let me tell you something. So, did I invite you to go to that Morgan Wallen concert?
No, you did
in 2020?
No, you did not.
That's why, right there.
You did not.
That was the greatest concert. Wallen, holler at us. Listen,
hey,
I know you love Tennessee, A&M. You would love it as well. We are the biggest fans of Morgan Wallen. I've seen him 3 times live. I've taken my kids, my wives. It's phenomenal.
Hey, can I just tell you something? Because I am Mr. Country Music, okay? No. Have you watched the Ken Burns documentary on country music?
No, I've seen the Ken Burns thing on the Civil War, though.
Okay, well, I think you need to watch that one because basically people like you have complained about country music evolving since the 50s.
Preach it.
Actually, before the 30s.
Preach it.
Everybody was like, it's too poppy. When Willie Nelson did his thing with Merle Haggard, they were saying the same thing.
They didn't like George Jones. Yeah. You were stuck listening to 1942 country music on a playlist.
Look, I'm going to give the people out there one thing. All right, look, you want somebody good?
Hank Williams Sr.
Check out Stephen Wilson Jr.
Okay.
Done.
This is not an
better than Morgan Wallen any day.
Did they like Hank Sr.? No. Did they like Hank Jr.? No. And now they're the greatest people on earth.
This is a football show, by the way. I promise you. So if you are still watching, thank you so much. Your favorite part of the show? You go first, Katie.
The fan show is always my favorite.
Okay. Oh, she took it from you.
That was what I was going to say. But the fan show is my favorite.
Okay. You.
Fan show.
Oh, my God.
Why not?
They didn't make the cut. You.
There's no doubt the fan show.
They didn't make I'm looking
brings
at it. The fan show didn't make the cut.
Yeah.
Will they ever make the cut?
Yeah, they've made it work.
Also, Ambry Heath, always a fan favorite.
All right, Stephen McGee. Now we're going to class up the joint.
McGee's fine.
Liucci.
Always great.
Aaron Torres.
Hey, none of those guys are country either.
Listen, look, Aaron Torres, I love listening to him. I love what he does bring to the show. Luch is obviously very good at what he does too. I mean, it's hard to go against him, but those are 1 seeds. We're like a 10 seed in the tournament.
No.
But I feel like we still show up.
You're 9-8. You're 9.
A 9?
Matt
Okay.
Baker.
Hey, this is the longest intro in the last 6 months, so check out the rewind now. Anybody else?
I mean, he was great in that last game of the year when they gave him the ball. It was at like 25 times against LSU or whatever. And you just sit there saying, man, what could have been?
I think I'm probably missing somebody obvious, but what I'm thinking right now is the closest. I thought Travion Williams had a great year.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd call him great. I think right off the top of my head, again, I'm probably missing somebody obvious, but the only great that comes to mind right now is Edgerrin Cooper.
Okay.
Oh, I was about to go there, OB. God, we are linked up this morning. Yes. Cooper is great. Somebody said A&M hasn't had a great linebacker. And I said, wait a minute. Are we forgetting Edgerrin Cooper? That dude was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was great. I wish he had been great here one more year.
Would we agree Wade Taylor falls in the great category?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you don't watch
I don't know anything about basketball.
Somebody's going to say Jace Lavalette.
Jace Lavalette was great. He's an all-time leading home run hitter. He's took us to an inning away from the national championship.
Are we willing to call Sorrell great?
He's on his way.
Okay. He's approaching greatness.
He hasn't played enough.
You know who falls in this category? I'm interested.
Did I say her name right?
Mo?
Mo? Yeah, she was great.
Mo, yeah. She was great. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I would say that Shamar Stewart is a great conversation piece around this. He is a really good football player, but he was not great at A&M. There's just not enough production. And I think that kind of defines what great is. You got to be a really good football player, but then you also have to have the combined production over the entirety of your career, in my opinion.
Yeah, see, Von Miller was great. We'll all agree with
for
that.
The last 2 years, I think you would say.
In college, if you can be great for 2 years, that makes you great.
I agree.
In college,
I totally agree.
Sammy
Joe
Bennett.
Burrow was great.
Okay, yeah.
Sammy Bennett.
Can move. I think you're going to see him really fill out. Again, Crownover's a nice template to look at when you're thinking of somebody like this. Cedric Ogbuehi was more highly rated, but that's a guy that you looked at and you knew exactly how he's going to fill out that frame as he got older. I think this guy, you can just take one look at him and see where he's going with that. And the other thing that I've heard from a lot of people over there that watch a lot of their football games and from scouts, he is a nasty football player. Like he gets down and dirty at the line of scrimmage and he'll finish fools. And that to me, when you're that tall and that big and that, long armed, it's easy to be a little bit more finesse and kind of have, then there's that question mark of can they be physical and tough enough for the SEC? That's not him. He's got that nasty streak. He's a finisher. So that part of it is really appealing. And that's probably part of why Cushing and the Aggies liked him so much. And then Krempin, I thought that was one. I thought Krempin was a guy I wanted the whole time. And it's an interesting story about Zayden. I've got a 15-year frame in scouting. Been an NFL scout since I've known him. And his son goes to high school with Zayden, and families know each other. And I've just been hearing about him, Nuno, since he was in 9th grade. Oh. So it's always interesting when those ones pan out, and become the prospect that whether it's a scout or a friend or somebody as a family member. Like right now, there's Bronny and I talk every day about my man Travis Fiedler, who I've known since he was born, and now might be the number one. He may end up being the number one shortstop prospect in the country in his baseball class. So it's crazy to see these type things. But with Krempin, I hadn't. There are 10 guys to 1 that pan out when you start talking about how good they're going to be in 9th grade.
Who's the team that people aren't talking about? They're like, I think you need to take a second look at them.
I will say 2 teams that are playing in week 1 against each other. I guess I see the LSU hype, but I really don't. I'm just not a Garrett Nussmeier guy. I think listen, I think 2 things can be true, and I'll try to be quick because I know it's an open-ended question, but I think 2 things can be true. Is I don't think all of LSU's relative struggles, they went 8-4 in the regular season last year, are all Garrett Nussmeier's fault. I don't think he had the receiving core that some previous quarterbacks did. But I also think people forget that by the end of last year, I think even LSU fans, I think they were ready to start the Bryce Underwood era. And then, of course, Bryce Underwood decommits. He goes to Michigan. Garrett Nussmeier knows, hey, I'm not going to have to basically be a mentor for this guy, decides to come back. But I think I've said this on your show, David, I don't get the number 1 overall pick vibes. And I think the thing with them too, basically an entirely new receiving core through the portal, admittedly very productive, an entirely new offensive line through the portal. That's just a lot to ask. And then, oh, by the way, you open at Clemson, and it's like, we've seen it with LSU the last couple of years. You lose that game, you're behind the 8 ball all year trying to catch up, let alone the fact that this year the schedule flips. You have to go to Alabama. You got a couple of your other tougher games on the road at Oklahoma, et cetera. So that's one I'm a little bit lower on than most. I'd have them in the top 25, but top 10 to me just seems preposterous. And then the inverse is Clemson. And listen, I don't think we can deny that part of it is an ACC schedule, that if you get past LSU at home in week 1, you're in pretty good shape. But I also just like the pieces. And I think, with the way college football is going, I give Dabo Swinney credit. He stood his line in the stand where I think a lot of us, myself included, were critical. Klubnik's a third-year starter. I thought he made a leap last year. And I think credit to Dabo. I think he actually did go into the portal and plugged a few holes. So I think that's going to be a very telling game in week 1 for both programs. And those are the 2 that really jump out to me at this point in the summer. I think they're both interesting talking points. I don't get the LSU stuff. And I think because Clemson hasn't been Clemson the last few years, I don't think people realize quite how much they have come with that.
Well, Florida to me is the most interesting, and it's been a minute since I've said that because I could see it going any number of ways. Like, you could say that based on what we've seen so far, maybe Billy Napier is out of his league in the SEC, and you could see them absolutely, going 6-6 and him being fired. Like, that's a reasonable scenario. It's also a reasonable scenario to think that DJ Lagway is the Gators' best quarterback since Tim Tebow, that Billy has been building this entire time, really for this kind of year 4-ish time period, and he's finally got everything in order, and they could make a playoff run or be in that conversation, or anything in the middle, and neither one would surprise me. So, I mean, look, I don't have a good read on anybody. I don't think any reporter really has a good read on any program right now because so much changes every year. But Florida's fascinating from that perspective. Florida State, I'm trying to figure out whether last year 2-10 was the fluke or the year before 13-0 was the fluke. Because those two things don't make sense, right? You cannot square those two things. I question a lot of the moves that they made in the offseason, and bringing in Gus Malzahn as offensive coordinator, Mike Norvell taking away play calling duties from himself, taking away his own superpower and handing it to somebody else. Again, I understand the why. That's just a really interesting decision that, again, I have no idea how it's going to work out. And then Miami, like, they should be very good. Just the way they've built, Mario's recruited at a high level. But then again, they had the top pick in the draft and were just good last year. They still maybe potentially underachieved, as I think you were alluding to. So this feels like a big year for Miami and Mario. And can they win the ACC? Can they stay in that playoff conversation the entire time and have a chance to make some noise at the end of the season?
Now we're going to close it out. But I'm going to allow you two to argue with who says what.
Like and subscribe.
And comment and come back tomorrow for more.
Add one more.
Click the bell.
Add another one.
Watch all of our videos.
All right. If you're still watching, say hi.